Did you guys watch your 90s commercials yet? Because if you didn't, you should, because you're going to need it after this one. This morning, I talked about a Project Veritas expose where a school was giving objects to children for adults. Let's just put it at that, adult objects, having them pass it around, talking about spitting on them or lubing them up, if you get the idea. I got another really dark story for you. Sorry to spring all of this on you right before Christmas, no less. From the National Post. Woman featured in pro-euthanasia commercial wanted to live. Oh my God. It's been really, really hard. You know, if it wasn't for a sense of obligation, I would have gone running a long time ago. Quote, I feel like I'm falling through the cracks. So if I'm not able to access health care, am I then able to access death care? Hatch said in a CTV interview. Jennifer Hatch, 37, was the central figure of All Is Beauty, a 3-minute film produced by Simons that celebrated Hatch's last days before seeking medical-assisted death. Turns out, she didn't want to die. She wanted to live. She needed help. Well, the government said they're not going to give it to her. They're not going to get health care for her. They're going to give her death care. That's her choice. So, I guess she made that choice. It's not a real choice. Look, the world is not fair. Physical reality does not allow you just to live forever without hardship. So you can't just go and expect that if you get sick, you can be cured. I hear the left say it all the time. Healthcare is a human right. It's not. You don't have a right to someone else's labor or technology or resources. If we have ease of means to produce a cure, then I can certainly understand, at the very least, pitching in to save someone's life. If we don't, well, then you can't be cured. This woman wanted health care. She was denied it. So they offered to kill her instead. Now that's just horrifying. I'm not going to play games and act like the universe would guarantee you can live. That was the point I was just trying to make. If you have a disease for which there is no cure, well, that's it. You have no right to be cured. It doesn't exist. Humans have to work very, very hard to cure these diseases. When they finally do, it doesn't mean we can just snap our fingers and have a magical machine like in Elysium, that movie, that just cures you of cancer. There was a story a while back about a kid who had a genetic disorder. There is a cure. The cure is extremely difficult to produce, and it costs something like $1 million per dose. So the family insisted, they demanded the state pay for this. And they were like, we can't afford to pay for this. We can't give every single person $1 million to save their lives. That's just reality. You want to think it. You want to believe it. But it's just not possible. Not everybody has the money. Now, considering it's $1 million, and a lot of people have $1 million, you'd think someone could do something to get that treatment to that kid. Maybe. But the world is not fair and imperfect. Well, actually, I think the world is perfect, but this is a component of it. They say, the woman featured in a glamorous pro-euthanasia commercial for a Canadian clothing retailer only opted for assisted suicide after her years-long attempts to secure proper health care and failed, friends have revealed. Jennifer Hatch, 37, was the central figure of the All Is Beauty. I read that already. Last week, CTV confirmed that Hatch was the same woman who had spoken to them in June about her failed attempts to find proper treatment for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a rare and painful condition in which patients suffer from excessively fragile skin and connective tissues. Like more than 500,000 British Columbians, Hatch was left without primary care after her family doctor moved away. And so, after her Ehlers-Danlos diagnosis 10 years ago, Hatch's treatment had largely consisted of a chaotic and ineffective stream of specialist appointments, none of whom had any background in her condition. It is far easier to let go than keep fighting. Look, this is a horrifying story, but I am not going to come out and act like the story is not that she went to the government and said, please help me. And they said, no. The story is their bureaucratic system was incapable of helping her. Her doctor moved away. Then she got a bunch of chaotic treatment and then said, you know what? Screw it. Euthanasia. Even when it seemed apparent that her condition was terminal, Hatch noted that the BC healthcare system hadn't even been able to provide her with appropriate palliative care. Man. However, BC was quick to approve her application for death. There were no other treatment recommendations or interventions that were suitable to the patient's needs or to her financial constraints. Look, I'll say it again. There's no libertarian left in this country or in Canada. They want to act like these woke people are libertarian left. They make memes. Stop. Libertarian left is not wokeness. They're authoritarian left. The people who would say, we're not going to give you the money to treat you and to give you to improve your quality of life. We're going to just take your life from you. If you were actually left libertarian, you'd say, we don't want you to suffer. What can we do to help you? We can't take from other people. We can't force anyone to do anything, but we're going to do what we can to help you. Her financial constraints, sorry, we can't. You're just going to die. It's authoritarians who create a system like Bernie Sanders, who said he wants to abolish private health insurance. And don't get me wrong, in the United States, private health insurance is pretty garbage, but man, is this story dark. The fact that they celebrated this woman's death when in reality she wanted to live. Man. They pulled the ad. No comment. This is from December 2nd. After generating controversy with the video that promoted medical assistance in dying, Simons had removed the ad from their website. It's amazing. She wanted to live. They couldn't get her treatment for financial reasons. What? In Canada? Thought they had universal health care in Canada. Sorry, financial constraints. Tama Recker, a friend, told CTV that her friend was ultimately comfortable with the decision to seek MAID, but that she also wanted to highlight a healthcare system that was very broken. Part of what Jennifer wanted to do was get people talking. This should get the left and the right together. I mean, the fact that they have universal healthcare that ultimately could not provide treatment and said, how about we kill you instead, should be for anyone of any political faction like this is not the way things should go. Hatch's case fits into an ever-expanding constellation of Canadians who want to live but applied for medically assisted death out of desperation after failed attempts to seek appropriate care. That is what you get with government health care. Last year, BC woman Donna Duncan was able to swiftly receive approval for assisted suicide in an Abbotsford hospital after years of unsuccessful attempts to find treatment for chronic mental illness issues. The killing of Duncan so blindsided her family that they referred the case to the RCMP for investigation. Do you see what's happening right now? They say that the depopulation agenda is a conspiracy theory. There's that reverse pyramid meme. I find it really funny. There's on the bottom, it's like things that actually happen that sound crazy. The next section is we have questions. In it is we live in a simulation. Like, what? We have questions about whether we live in a simulation? Come on. Like, that has no basis in reality. It's speculative. It's idea. It's faith-based. Then all the way at the top, anti-Semitic point of no return. It says Bill Gates depopulation. The man went on the stage at a TED Talk and said we need to reduce global population. Okay, I'm not saying Bill Gates went up on stage and said we got to kill everybody. He was saying we have to take steps now to reduce population growth. And there's a negative curve. The population then declines. Yeah, it's a depopulation agenda. People say, no, it's a population growth reduction agenda. Semantics. So this is what we're seeing now. In Canada, you know, if you want medical care, you can't get it, but they'll kill you. They'll kill you outright. Now, children, December 6th, Daily Mail. Grieving father who lost son to cancer in blistering attack on Canadian government as it considers, Canadian father in blistering attack, I don't know, as it considers offering euthanasia to sick kids. It's like telling them your life isn't worth living. Let me explain for you what we've seen so far and why this one matters. Back in the end of the 2000s, a bunch of conservatives were saying that if you legalize gay marriage, they're going to start teaching kids how to have gay sex in schools. And the left said, that's ridiculous. It'll never happen. Now they're actually teaching kids how to have gay sex in schools. Project Veritas just revealed that. And they say, so what? It's just queer sex. So, okay. The thing is, it's dangerous what they're teaching these kids. To put it simply, no, seriously, inserting foreign objects into your body and with lube and things like that in places they're not supposed to go. Not healthy. And they're teaching these kids to do this stuff. Yeah, some people saw it coming. Most people didn't believe it. Now you have this story. Euthanasia. There was a meme I saw, I think it was on Twitter, where they said, here's where you are. The first step was euthanasia offered in extreme cases of, severe illness or pending death, terminal illness. The next one was euthanasia offered for, and I can't remember exactly what it says, but traumatic brain injuries and debilitating diseases and like paralysis. The next one was euthanasia offered for people who are depressed and just don't want to be alive anymore. The next step after that, so like you are here, was prescribed involuntary euthanasia for those who are suffering from diseases that can't be treated. And the last one was prescribed euthanasia for individuals who have abhorrent political views and have committed crimes, basically the death penalty. Expanding the death penalty. I oppose the death penalty. They want to euthanize kids. So what comes next? What do you think the next step is? They're going to have suicide booths. The Daily Mail reports, relaxing euthanasia laws in Canada so children can be offered assisted dying would tell sick young people their lives are not worth living, a campaigner has warned. Lawmakers in Canada are currently considering whether medical assistance in dying should be open to mature minors who meet certain criteria. Mike Soughton, an activist whose son Marcus died of cancer earlier this year, said the highly controversial policy would send the message to patients like his son that caregivers are giving up on them. Mr. Soughton, director of advocacy for the Association for Reformed Political Action in Canada, warned the criteria for assisted dying has been widened incredibly quickly since it became legal in 2016. His intervention comes amid a fierce debate in Canada about his increasingly relaxed approach to assisted death. More than 10,000 Canadians were euthanized in 2021 alone, up tenfold in 5 years. You know what that means? I was reading this the other day. More than 3% of the deaths last year were euthanasia. When they expand these laws and access, you will start getting kids, and those kids will be killed. Now, I don't live in Canada, so if you live in the United States, don't give up your guns. In Canada, here's what I expect to happen. We've already seen it with gender transition. The stage is being set. A child can go to a teacher or medical professional and then tell them they want to take drugs and get surgery. In the United States, it's already happening. You can't tell the parents. The teachers aren't allowed to tell the parents. Well, in Florida, they're trying to change that. What happens next? In Canada, I would not be surprised to see in the next few years laws passed that children have a right to medical assistance in death without parental consent. 14-year-old girl, depressed over a social situation of some sort, goes to the school and says that she doesn't want to be alive anymore. And they say, don't tell your parents. We'll help you. And then one day the parents are like, where's our daughter? And they say, we're only informing you now because it's already been done, but your child opted for medical assistance in dying. I want you to imagine what that's going to be like. Don't think it'll happen? They're giving minor teenage girls mastectomies. They're giving children chemicals that sterilize and chemically castrate them. And you think we aren't moving in that direction? Project Veritas expose showed a man bragging about how cool it was to give adult toys to children, 14 to 18. Okay, so some of them are adults. 18-year-olds are adults. But either way, totally inappropriate. And explain to them the difference between using lube and using spit. This stuff's happening. So, I'll tell you where I'm at with this. Man, this has been a hard week, huh? You know what I'd prefer to do? I don't know, just sitting on a bench outside playing some guitar. What do we need all of this for, huh? What do we need all of this for? Building a company out, hiring people. When you watch things like this, the world is a sick place. Hope, Mr. Frodo. We have hope that there's still some good left out there. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I'm paraphrasing the quote from Samwise in Lord of the Rings. Saw that on Twitter the other day. And, after seeing this Project Veritas video, there has been nothing more persuasive, in my view, to quit. And at the same time, refuse to back down. Seeing this, these people in Canada who want to live but are being denied medical care, or they're, I can understand if there's an inability to treat something that's terminal, but being denied and then being offered death instead. Yeah, that's bad. Seeing the Veritas thing, that was like, I'm out. Let me just get out of here. Just get away from it all. But that's the thing. I can't sit by while these people are getting away with it. So that's why, there's this intense poll saying, this has gone too far. I got to focus on something else, right? But I know one simple truth, and so do all of you. If we ignore this, it gets worse. So it may be that we are like, who is that guy who was pushing the rock? Sisyphus? Was that the dude? He's pushing the rock up the hill forever. It may be that. It may be that we're just going to have to be those standing on the front lines, desperately trying to stop this. And we're getting pushed back, It's like the wall is pushing us and we're holding it, but we're unable to stop it. But I can't imagine what it would be like if at any point we decided to walk away from that. You've got to try. We can't let the world become this. There is a scary thought, though, with as serious as things are getting. There is a certain point where you do have to have a strategic retreat. And so I think about that, too. With everything we're doing and the threats we're getting, at what point are we too high profile to where we actually become less effective? I don't know. I used to report on the ground, and I became too high profile. People expected to see me at places. They looked for me, and then it became impossible to do my job. Some people said, wear a disguise. And I said, yes, but I'm walking around pointing a camera and talking. People will see me, hear my voice. There's nothing you can do. So I decided to do commentary and, more digital anchoring. It's a common thread for a lot of people who did field news and then eventually became anchors. And, or whatever you want to call this. I mean, we're not in the world of the anchor anymore. But what happens when we become so high profile that we can't even afford to operate? This is the sad reality. I mean, security is expensive, and we got to pay those costs. We have people breaking in. We have threats. At what point are we better working behind the scenes, fortifying our operation and preparing for what's to come? I want you to tell me. This is Canada, by the way. But I want you to tell me, as I stated in my morning segment, with everything we're seeing, here's one. We'll talk about it in a bit. Joe Biden trades a Russian terrorist, the Merchant of Death, for Brittany Griner, a subpar basketball player. Meanwhile, an actual Marine, Paul Whelan, left to rot in Russia. You mean to tell me you look at the corruption in politics, you look at the teacher exploiting children, you look at in Canada, they're just straight killing people now, and they want to kill kids. And you think this is not falling apart? I am not trying to be pessimistic. I am just trying to be real. People say it. I know I mentioned this earlier, but it's on my mind. That it's things aren't getting worse. Life is fine. And I'm like, they're objectively getting worse watching this stuff. What am I supposed to think when it's like, oh, we've moved on to the phase where they're just straight up killing people now? Medical assistance and dying. Yeah, we weren't here a few years ago. I mean, we were close to it a few years ago, and it's getting worse every single day. Escalation. So I ask, do you think, with what happened with Veritas and what's happening with this woman, do you think that things will de-escalate? Do you think that in a few months to a year, people are going to say, whew, we were wrong about that one. We fired the teacher. We said no to this stuff. We're not going to medically assist people in dying anymore. Wow. Or, based on the response so far, And the fact that Democrats keep winning, do you think it gets worse? And then what? Democrats won in Georgia. Georgia's a red state. It literally is a red state. There's like one election or whatever that goes blue somehow. People say candidate quality. No, I just say it's the raw exercise of power. The system has broken. It's broken down. And, Republicans are 10 steps behind consistently. This stuff is just so heavy, A woman who wants to live but can't get the proper care, not even like treatment or cure, so she decides to die. That's what's happening in Canada. In I think it was Belgium, I'm not sure, the Netherlands, there was a 24-year-old woman on antidepressants who said she still wanted to be alive, and they said, okay, and they killed her. I think if this is the track things are going, how much longer until we see direct acts of violence? How much longer with stuff like this until you see roving band of organized armed men saying no? More importantly, with the schools, what's to stop a group of parents from getting armed and going and shutting the school down themselves? Reminds me of V for Vendetta, the scene at the end when the inspector says, and then someone will do something stupid. And it shows the finger man, he calls him, holding up his badge to all the people. He says it shows a little girl skipping wearing the Guy Fawkes mask, and he yells and he shoots her. And then all the people and the parents come out and they see him, he's holding his badge, and they have pipes and crowbars, and they just don't care anymore. That's it. At a certain point, people are going to say there's no accountability, there's no justice. No amount of complaints or regis of grievances will deal with this problem. And then things get bad. What I think will happen first, armed guys will block off roads into their small town of 10,000 and bar state, county, and federal law enforcement from coming in. That's how I think it starts. I hope not, but the system's broken. Do I expect Joe Biden to solve any of this stuff? No, he's a crooked man. He's totally corrupt. He's bought and paid for. He is a piece of human garbage. He's not going to come save you from any of this. He's part of this. So I don't see a way out. I hope no violence happens, and I strongly encourage no one to be violent. I will say it again. Get chickens, get out of cities, and prepare for the worst. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, you're so pessimistic. I can't take this black pill stuff. Oh, it's so wrong. It's like, okay. All right. I hear you. That's why I said it myself. Like, I'd love to just stop reading about this, but this has been escalating. So my point is this. You can blame me and say I'm black-pilled or whatever. I don't think I am. I think we're headed towards a light at the end of the tunnel. But I will just say outright, this is not about what I want. It's not about optimism or pessimism. It's about the fact that you can clearly see over the past several years, things have escalated. Call it positive, call it negative. To many people who want a revolution, it must be positive, right? I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.